Reinier the Ritter just quit on the stool after the fourth round, man. I'm in disbelief. I mean, this just shows how shitty the middleweight division truly is. It proves my point that Robert Whittaker has been overrated by the MMA community for years. Honestly, I'm salty about this. I just can't believe that he quit. I can't believe that Reinier the Ritter quit. Like he never gave me the impression that he would be the type of fighter to quit. He kind of has that Ayman Sahabi, weird, unorthodox striking style. Those guys that you're like, oh man, that guy's about to get chinned, but they get hit with some hard shots, but they're able to push through, and because of the pressure, because of their will to win, they're able to find ways to win. And the fact that Reinier the Ritter, after getting controlled on the ground, and yeah, Brendon Allen was landing elbows, yeah, Brendon Allen was landing punches, on the ground in guard, on top of Reinier the Ritter. Like, was it really that much for you to quit? Like, that's insane. Like, I just can't believe he quit after that. Like, it's not like Brendon Allen was just piecing him on the feet, going, breaking his legs, kicking him, and Reinier the Ritter can't even walk in there. Like, no, man, he was just getting controlled on the ground. And yeah, Reinier the Ritter was expending a lot of energy trying to go for submissions, trying to go for arm triangles, and trying to find ways to hurt Brendon Allen off his back. But to get so gassed to the point where you have to quit on the stool after the fourth round, to me, is unbelievable. After you went 5 rounds with Robert Whittaker, like, how does that happen? Like, he had such a competitive fight with Robert Whittaker, and even though I've been saying for years that Robert Whittaker isn't that guy, because I mean, I remember just a couple years back when Chimaev was still in the welterweight division, when people would say, "Oh, Robert Whittaker would be such a nightmare matchup for Chimaev. I mean, Robert Whittaker's takedown defense is just absolutely unbelievable and all this crap." And I'm like, nah, just with the eye test, you can tell that this guy would take down this guy. You know what I'm saying? A lot of these predictions, you come to the conclusion that if you watch tape and you just lean on the eye test, forget the skills and all this dumb shit, you will come to the right prediction, I believe, more than 50% of the time. I really do believe that, because going into this fight, yeah, I didn't make a prediction video because it's not a big enough fight. It's not like we're super invested. It's not that type of main event. I think for a Reinier the Ritter versus Anthony Hernandez, I would have made a prediction for that fight. But even then, right, I watched Reinier the Ritter versus Robert Whittaker. I watched Brendon Allen versus Nasruddin Imavov. I watched Brendon Allen versus Martin Vettori. And even though, I don't think Brendon Allen is some elite fighter, he's very solid everywhere. He has good striking. He showed good striking against Imavov. He's good on the ground. He showed a will to win against Martin Vettori. So yeah, Brendon Allen isn't necessarily extraordinary anywhere in any aspect of MMA, but he's very well rounded. You know what I'm saying? He's very fundamental. He's very well rounded. Yeah, he lacks a bit of fight IQ. Yeah, he lacks a bit when it comes to the cardio. But Reinier the Ritter, I mean, in that Robert Whittaker fight, that was such a sloppy ass fight. And I think it came down to Robert Whittaker just giving him too much respect and not really having that killer instinct. I feel like, Robert Whittaker tends to will when it comes to pressure, and Reinier the Ritter did such a good job of pressuring Robert Whittaker. Maybe it's also the fact that, I mean, this was a different Reinier the Ritter to the one that fought Robert Whittaker. Like, he had such a dominant first round, right? In this fight, he had such a dominant first round. He takes down Brendon Allen right away. Is controlling him on the ground, trying to find submission, landing, ground and pound shots. Not necessarily close to a finish, but he was in very, very dominant positions. And then in the second round, kind of the same story. Reinier the Ritter is controlling Brendon Allen with a body triangle. Brendon Allen's able to reverse the position, and then he's able to control Reinier the Ritter and land punches, and basically, RDR loses the round because of that. And then in the third round, the same old story, And I was just like, watching the fight, I was like, why isn't Reinier the Ritter at least entertaining the striking a little bit? Like, it wasn't like with Robert Whittaker, he was just going for nonstop takedowns. Like, he was actually willing to strike with Robert Whittaker. So I don't know what he felt from Brendon Allen. Maybe he had some sort of injury where he couldn't strike, because it was just such a weird approach to this fight. It's like, okay, you saw that you could get reversed in the second round. Why the hell would you do it again? You know what I'm saying? And on top of that, Brendon Allen wasn't even necessarily imposing so much damage to the point where you have to quit on the stool. Like, it's unbelievable. I cannot believe this. This has been, at least in recent memory, one of those main events that I'm just kind of in disbelief. Like, I'm like, oh, I guess it really ended like that. This card was a terrible card for betting. It was such a fun card. There was so many good fights. The prelims had good fights. There was even, women fights that ended in finishes, which, rarely happen in this sport. It was a very, very fun card, but in terms of betting, it was just one of the worst, man. I mean, Reinier the Ritter quitting on the stool. I mean, you could have predicted that. I thought that even with the eye test, maybe you wouldn't have come to the conclusion that Brendon Allen wins this fight, but you would have come to the conclusion that this would be a very close fight, right? And you could maybe even make an argument that, based on the betting odds, maybe you should put a little bit of money on Brendon Allen, right? But I don't know, man. I just kind of fell for the aura of Reinier the Ritter. I'm like, he has so much momentum. He beat Kevin Holland, then he knocked out Bo Nickel. Then he had that win, that competitive fight with Robert Whitaker, who a lot of people consider one of the top guys in the middleweight division for the longest time. And now he's fighting Brendon Allen when he was supposed to fight Anthony Hernandez. He had a full training camp. So there was a lot of logical reasons to pick RDR, even though when I would watch tape, I was like, oh man, I just don't like how RDR looks on the feet. He's so sloppy. He doesn't have the best body language when he gets hurt. But Brendon Allen, somebody that's crafty, somebody who's been in there with some tough guys, was able to beat someone like RDR, even though he lost the first round very dominantly. So credit to Brendon Allen, good win for him. And I'm never gonna bet on a guy that quits, man. I'm just never gonna bet on a guy that quits like Reinier the Ritter. I don't care if his next fight he's fighting Ben Askren. I'm not gonna bet RDR, man. I'm just never gonna bet on a guy that quits. Like, that automatically bans you from being a guy that you bet on, because when things get tough, like, yeah, you can be the hammer, but you can never be the nail. And in this sport, you're eventually gonna fight a guy that's gonna give you a hard fight, that's gonna put you in positions that are not advantageous. So if you're good at beating up guys, but you don't know how to take a beating either, and you're gonna quit on the stool like that, you're just not worth betting. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know, man. It sucks. I was a big Reinier the Ritter fan. I was like, man, this guy's good. This guy's entertaining. He kind of has that smirk. He has that very cocky personality. I mean, he seems like a nice guy, but he has that smirk about him. This was a very bad loss for him. This is a very bad loss for him. And for Brendon Allen, man, I mean, do I think he's gonna go out there and beat Chimaev after this win? No. I mean, this just kind of proved that Reinier the Ritter isn't that guy. More than Brendon Allen is necessarily very, very elite. So I think Brendon Allen should maybe call out a Dricus du Plessis, fight a DDP. I think that would be a good fight for him. Both of them already have like a lot of beef. They don't really like each other. And for Reinier the Ritter, I mean, it's tough, man. I mean, he could fight a lot of guys. I mean, they could give him a big fight with Adesanya, maybe. Maybe a Sean Strickland, maybe Kyle Barajo. I think that's the fight that I will make. Maybe RDR versus Kyle Barajo. I think that would be a good fight. I think it would be a good fight for Barajo. Maybe I think I'd pick Barajo with the performance that Reinier de Ritter showed in this fight, man. He showed none of the attributes that he's shown in his previous fights. Like, yeah, is he the most technical guy? No. Is he the most fundamental guy on the feet? No. But he finds ways to win. He has the will to win. He has good pressure. He has good cardio. He has good volume. He's very tricky on the ground. Very good scrambles. Just a very tough guy. Very, very tough guy. He's big for the weight class. He's very tall for the weight class. I just can't believe he had this type of performance. It's honestly very disappointing. And like I said, most of the card was a very, very fun card. I mean, the Marlon Vera versus Ayman Sahabi fight was a good fight, even though I thought Marlon Vera won the first round and won the second round. It was still a very close fight. And then, what was a co-main event? Kevin Holland versus Mike Malott. I mean, that fight was just... It wasn't a great fight, man. It was kind of ruined by the fact that Kevin Holland got kicked in the nuts, and he was basically stalling out for 5 minutes. He should have just quit, man. He should have just quit, because he was like, okay, like, he's gonna keep fighting, and then he was still complaining about the groin shot. So typical Kevin Holland performance. He's probably gonna use it as a big excuse for him losing this fight. And for Mike Malott, I don't think he had like the most incredible performance. Like, I don't think this performance is all of a sudden he's gonna be a top contender. But I mean, solid win, right? Solid win over a Kevin Holland who is a win one, lose one type of fighter. Manon Fiorot, knocks out Jasmine Jasudavicius. That wasn't really surprising, because Manon Fiorot was a big favorite, but to get a finish in the first round did kind of shock me. Um, there was another good fight. Matt Favola versus was it Kyler Nelson? Kyle Nelson? That was an amazing fight. That was a truly amazing fight, and I mean that fight should have ended at the end of the first round, man. I don't know why the ref didn't stop it. Matt Favola was completely out, and I feel bad for the people that betted that fight not to go a decision or maybe a knockout because that should have cashed. You know that should have cashed. There's no way that fight they should have let it go. You know they've stopped fights for less damage than that, you know. And Matt Favola was clearly out. I don't know if the ref was, I don't know if he got distracted. I don't know what happened, but he was just out of it, man. I felt like he wasn't, I don't think he was watching the ground and pound and how it was affecting Matt Favola at the end of that first round. Or maybe he was looking at the time and he was like, okay, maybe I could let him recover. But that should have been stopped, man. That should have been stopped. Everybody thought that when it got stopped, that it was because the fight got stopped, not because the round ended. You know, we all thought the same thing. And you know, Matt Favola was able to come back in the second round and was still having moments. You know, you could tell that Kyle Nelson, you know, was recovering from just beating Matt Favola's ass in the first round. And in the third round, he was able to beat Matt Favola and hurt him in a lot of the fights. So, guys, overall, this was a very, very good card. Like I said, in terms of betting, it was a terrible card. So I'm a little bit salty about that. But I mean, the main takeaway is that Reinier the Ritter is a quitter.